2020 marked the start of a new era for computing when Apple finally ditched Intel and started developing their own system on a chip. While the withdrawal could be attributed to Intel to some extent, I believe Apple realized one of their core strengths is their own ecosystem. The more of the production they can control, the better. Needless to say, these chips had amazing performance and fantastic efficiency. You might think that this is the first time a tech giant ditched the good old x86 architecture, but no. We can go all the way back to 2012 when Microsoft introduced Windows RT, an ARM exclusive operating system. But lackluster specs, no compatibility layer for x86, little to no native apps, and underwhelming performance doomed RT. Cut to 2024, companies saw M-series huge success and SoC's normalization, so now the waters seemed a little bit more comfy. I don't know how, but Qualcomm managed to convince a huge number of major players in the industry to launch their flagships with Snapdragon chips. If I had to take a guess, I would say they wanted to replicate MacBook's success. Microsoft, Samsung, Asus, Acer, HP, and Dell, among so many others, announced their offerings. In fact, Microsoft was so invested in these chips, they didn't even give users the option to choose Intel or AMD in their Surface Pro 11 lineup.
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Unless you consider Surface Pro 10 for business, but since it's for business, we're not gonna consider niche solutions for a small demographic. Surface Pro 11th edition, named that because Microsoft just loves chaos, I guess, started at $1,000, and the OLED model started at $1,300. If you wanted pen and keyboard, that would cost you an extra $450. The thing is, Surface lineup is a premium lineup. As a result, it always had that hefty price tag. Also, they're the top of the line 2-in-1 manufacturer, so it makes sense. If we look at Samsung, the Galaxy Book 4 also came with a premium markup. Other major manufacturers replicated this strategy and positioned these devices as alternatives to x86. It's that they need to cater to the budget segment as well, which Qualcomm actually did, sort of. There isn't much difference in price. Snapdragon X Plus is the cut down version of the Elite and is presented as affordable. Now we have some context regarding the launch. Let's look at the aftermath. These products were given glowing reviews. Performance and battery life were the MVPs. However, several reviews pointed out the pricing. The pricing is a double-edged sword in my opinion. These devices are focused on the hot new trend of AI while featuring ARM SoCs, something completely new in Windows, so that makes sense to a certain extent. On the other hand, this isn't an x86 device, and while the emulation of the old architecture has greatly improved, you still can't use it as an all-in-one replacement. I personally daily drive Surface Laptop Studio, and while I absolutely love these new devices and competition, they still can't handle my full workload. There's something else we need to talk about: the marketing revolving around AI. To distinguish these from the good old x86, they use the term Copilot PCs or AI PCs. This is just speculation from my end, but I think the moment you try to position a device based on a software feature utilizing NPU, which you can't even use for more mainstream use cases, can contribute to its underwhelming sales. They probably could have avoided it by boosting the performance and the battery life instead, a few months after the initial results were in. According to Canalys's response to Tech Radar at the end of November 2024, the total shipment of PCs featuring the Elite chips amounted to around 720,000 of all the PCs shipped. In terms of the total Windows demo, it made less than 1.5% share. Funnily enough, Microsoft's Surface lineup is leading the charge in that 1.5%. This was widely considered extremely underwhelming by everyone. The reason being, Copilot PC shipments actually grew drastically during that period. Intel and AMD still dominated the market. I've seen many people lose faith in ARM on Windows. It makes sense. doesn't it? If these chips are underperforming, there's gonna be less attention from the devs to port apps or optimize emulation. Fewer manufacturers are gonna offer their own products with these SoCs inside, and the list goes on. Perhaps that's the case, but let's look at the other side of the coin as well. Qualcomm came out with its first iteration in mainstream PCs, went toe-to-toe with Apple's latest offerings at the time, provided great battery life, performance, and emulation. For all intents and purposes, this is the very beginning of ARM on Windows. Since the Windows RT days, this OS has improved dramatically on ARM. Nevertheless, people still categorize ARM Windows as one when comparing to MacBooks. You've got so many manufacturers coming up with their own implementations which have only one operating system to utilize the hardware. Meanwhile, Apple has a handful of devices that come with extreme hardware-software interconnection and integration. They can afford to change architectures. It doesn't matter to them since it's their proprietary stuff. In addition, these PCs aren't the only ones that are going to be available in the market. I'm pretty confident that as soon as they grab a noticeable market share, other companies like MediaTek are gonna jump in with their own SoCs, trying to cut Snapdragon in price. Speaking of other companies, Intel and AMD are realizing that they need to secure their key strengths. Their x86 offerings need to match these SoCs or beat them. They might need to offer their own system-on-a-chip solutions since you can only get so much performance from separate components connected with buses and lanes. So yeah, I don't believe that Snapdragon or ARM on Windows has failed just yet. I'm usually against the iterative improvements, but even if these SoCs came with minor refinements every year, I'll support them. Guys, we can't just expect ARM to come in and take over the architecture that has been the norm in consumer-grade computing for decades. It's gonna take some time, and we should be excited and advocate for more competition. We need to get to a point where you can just go to your local computer store, pick a PC, and not even worry about the architecture. Qualcomm has already promised that more budget-friendly PCs are coming in soon. Some of the other devices have already dropped in price, and major software vendors are actively working on native versions of their apps. In summary, however, SoCs on Windows need to have better control over hardware and software, tighter integration just like Apple, a better, more accurate value proposition, lower price, more competitors in ARM space like MediaTek, series of affordable laptops, better compatibility layer for x86 architecture, better accessibility to the code, incentives for devs, categorizing the chips and the laptops, etc. Till then, what do you guys think of this whole situation? I'll love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your support. Please like and subscribe because
That's so funny.
this is Rogue Hat. Catch you guys later.